Color management. Let's do it. In this video, we will discuss general principles of color management and a display and web-based workflow in Photoline. In the next video, we will discuss a print workflow. If you're new to color management, its importance cannot be overstated. If you haven't yet, I recommend getting a good book on the subject, such as Real-World Color Management. Cambridge in Color has a very good 3-part online tutorial, and there's always the Wikipedia article. Very briefly, color management is how your computer, your display, someone else's display, your printer, and any other color-managed device all know how to display the same colors. They communicate with each other through ICC color profiles. One of the main differences between color profiles is the gamut, or the range of colors that may be accurately reproduced. 3 color profiles that you should be familiar with in order of increasing gamut size are sRGB, Adobe RGB, and ProPhoto. These are working space profiles which define colors independently of a specific device. This graphic shows the gamuts of several profiles superimposed on a diagram of all the colors that the eye can see. The small red one is sRGB. It's a standard that dates back to CRT monitors, and it is still what web browsers use, at least for the most part. Side note, Display P3 and Rec 2020 may be the next thing in color management, but they're not yet widely implemented. The blue one, Adobe RGB, was something of a successor to sRGB as the gamuts of cameras and printers grew to exceed it. But today, many cameras, printers, and even monitors have gamuts that exceed even Adobe RGB. ProPhoto, the big purple one, is wide enough to encompass just about any device, but its colors are so far apart that banding or visual separation of colors in a smooth gradient such as the sky may become an issue when editing images in 8-bit, so 16-bit is recommended. Here is an overall rule of thumb. If an image comes from a small low-end camera or is intended for the internet, use sRGB. If an image is from a better camera and is intended for printing, use Adobe RGB. If you converted the image from RAW, are using 16-bit, and feel comfortable with the entire process, use ProPhoto. If you don't have them already, you can make your own working space profiles with the ICC Profile Creator included with the open-source RAW processor RAW Therapy. This graphic shows the parameters for a number of profiles. The RGB primaries define the profile's gamut. The tone response curve is often called gamma, even though it may be a little more complicated than that. The illuminant is the white point of the profile. Display P3 is not included in the presets, but the primaries may be entered manually. It uses the same tone response curve and illuminant as sRGB. And a note about the ICC version. Version 4 is the latest one, but some applications, including browsers, still don't support it. Version 2 is the safe choice. You also need a display profile, which is a device profile specific to your screen or monitor to ensure that you're seeing correct colors. You may be able to download one from the manufacturer, but if you're serious about color management, you should invest in a profiling solution. Another improvement to your workflow would be a color checker to calibrate your camera. The small one is all you need, and the software is a free download. So, to get to our main subject, how do we perform color management in Photoline? First, we need to know where everything is. It's not all centralized in one place. Here is a run-through. We'll discuss each of these as we come to them. Edit, Options, Color Management, Devices and Standard. Tool, Color, Set Color Profile, and Convert with Color Profile. And note, there's a shortcut to Set Color Profile on the Document and Layer Properties panels. File, New Image. Web Export. Note the option to add sRGB profile. And for printing, View Proof Mode, and File, Print. Also, Photoline has its own folder where profiles that are not installed to your operating system may be copied. For testing, for example, Photoline defaults ICC profiles. Let's start with Edit Options Color Management. On devices, Activate Color Management should, of course, be checked. On Standard, use Little CMS if your operating system does not have its own color management system, such as Linux, and evidently, for practical purposes, Windows. Little CMS may actually be more reliable than either Microsoft or Apple CMS, and I recommend using it. Go ahead and select Use Black Point Compensation. We'll get to that in the next video. You need to restart Photoline if you change to or from Little CMS. The rest of the options are the default profiles that Photoline should use. For a display and web-based workflow on devices, setting the screen profile to System may be all you need to do, unless you have default profiles for importing images from a scanner or a camera. As for Standard, these defaults are for how to display images that are untagged, meaning that they have no profile assigned. sRGB is probably correct for a large number of these. The rendering intent applies to conversions to or from device profiles, so it will not be important until we get to a print workflow in the next video. Now, how does one assign a profile to an image? Ideally, every image should be assigned a working space profile at the time of its creation. This could be in the camera when the picture is taken, when converting a raw image, or when using File, New Image. Assignment should only be performed one time, and it tells color-managed devices how to display the image's colors. It does not change the image's actual pixels. When opening an image, Tool Color Set Color Profile will tell you what profile, if any, is assigned. This one has none. The profile is also listed in the Document Properties panel as ICC Profile. If it says none, double-click the entry to open the Set Color Profile dialog. I'm going to assign sRGB, and it appears to be correct because the image does not change. What if I pick the wrong one, such as ProPhoto? Look what happens. The colors become bizarre, with a cyan sky and pink soil, because this image's colors were intended to be displayed with sRGB. When does one convert an image to another profile? One school of thought is that images should be captured with the widest gamut and largest bit depth possible, edited as such, then reduced as needed for specific purposes. That means raw capture, ProPhoto, and 16-bit, and a wide gamut display. But when it comes time to display such an image online, we need to convert it. I'm going to pretend that this image was captured and edited in ProPhoto. To convert it for the web, first flatten it via Layer, Flatten Image, then use Tool, Color, Convert with Color Profile, and set sRGB as the destination profile. Rendering intent and black point compensation are not applicable to conversion between working spaces. We'll get to them in the next video. We flatten the image first because in Photoline, layers can have profiles that are different from that of the overall document. And if that's the case, converting to a new profile may produce unexpected results. And note that, unlike when assigning a profile, conversion changes the image's pixels so that it looks correct in the new profile. Converted images should always be saved as copies. Here's an example of the importance of knowing an image's working space. Let's remove the assigned profile from this image. No profile. In the default sRGB working space, the colors are washed out and distorted with a purple sky and greenish flesh tones. But if we're able to figure out that it's supposed to be ProPhoto, we can assign the correct profile and everything looks right again. And if we save it properly with an assigned profile, we can reopen it properly. Saving an image via File, Save As, saves it with whatever profile is assigned. But there's another way to save web images, web export. It lets you compare two different formats, JPEG and PNG for example, and note this box here, Add sRGB Profile, which means Assign sRGB Profile. Web export automatically converts images to sRGB, so Add sRGB Profile should always be checked. If you want to save a web image in another space, such as Display P3, the web export dialog may be used to assess the compression quality and so forth, but the image should actually be saved via File, Save As, to preserve the assigned profile. Now, if you convert an image to some weird profile that you made yourself, such as ProPhoto with a 2.2 gamma and D55 illuminant, which I call ProPhoto 2255, will anyone else be able to view it properly? Many applications, including Photoline, embed the profile information into a tagged image file, so someone else with such an application can open it and view it with that profile. They can even extract it, Tool, Color, Export Color Profile, and use it themselves. In the next video, we will look at a print workflow, including proof mode and rendering intents.